Buenas tardes a la multitud de familias, amigos y queridos compañeros este día tan destacado. Mi nombre es Patricia Granda Malaver y quiero primero decir felicitaciones a cada uno de ustedes por haberse graduado de Columbia University. Aunque nuestra ceremonia este año sea en casa, no significa que no tengamos oportunidad de festejar nuestro gran logro. Como dice Celia Cruz, la vida es un carnaval y las penas se van cantando. Así que hoy celebren con familia, lloren de felicidad, abracen muy fuerte a sus padres y como mi familia siempre dice, bailen hasta las últimas consecuencias. Es verdaderamente un honor formar parte de la clase del 2020. Somos un grupo que hemos demostrado una cantidad de fuerza, coraje, esperanza y resiliencia a través de estos 4 años. En otras palabras, nosotros somos la definición de orgullo latino. Pero llegar a este punto no fue fácil para muchos. It's 2016 and you're moving into your dream school with aspirations of changing the world one step at a time. There's something about the beautiful green lawns, or maybe the way the hot sun is hitting the inside of your freshman dorm. At this moment, you're more than certain that these truly will be the best 4 years of your life. That's why when your sobbing mother gives you la bendición, you look her in the eye with the assurance that everything will be okay. You are bound to embark on a journey to ensure your hardworking parents' sacrifices were not in vain. Yet by the time the pure perreo we were all a part of during NSOP comes to an end, you seem to feel a bit more uncertain. For me, this uncertainty arose every time I couldn't relate to the privileged ones around me. As they talked of their worldwide trips and expensive lives, I would squirm. These so-called privileged ones were the kind of kids with arrogant families my mom cleaned houses for. They were reckless because they had nothing to lose. They had already read half the core because their boarding schools had prepared them all their lives for an Ivy League. They were also cold-hearted because they had never faced a day of adversity in their lives. In these initial moments, I would tell myself it would only take time before I could relate to them. However, the feelings of insecurity transcended into the classroom for me, as well as for many of you. Imposter syndrome might have caused us, especially me, to cry in the depths of the night for the 3rd time in a row, quietly, of course, to not awake my roommate who probably already thought I was a crazy Latina. It caused us to doubt ourselves, made us want to give up, and honestly, lose hope that we would ever fit in. But like every dramatic telenovela my grandma Mami Charo has watched, the protagonist always perseveres. There would come a time where we would finally understand what amor propio really meant. Many of us learned to put our mental health first and seek the help we needed to know our self-worth. As much as our culture can be caring and colorful, it also has toxic tendencies and stigmas towards topics like mental health. So I applaud all of you fearless individuals for pushing through or helping a friend with mental health hardships we were told all our lives didn't exist. You embody Latinx excellence. There are so many to thank in this journey of beating the odds. Among them is the Latinx people at Columbia. Reflecting back, the comfort and laughs the Latinx community gave me helped me survive at a place that many times doesn't even want to see you smile. Memories with our people ranged from the wild nights to the simple moments. We've all been to a crazy night at Casa Latina, excited that you finally get to dance salsa, and glad it's a judgment-free zone to drop it low to a J Balvin or Bad Bunny song. We've also all probably been to an event only because they advertised free tropical sensation, and at that point, it was about time you had some real seasoned food. For me, some of my most beloved memories were with the Ferris staff. Going in there, saludar a mi gente con un abrazo, and being able to speak Spanish with them made me instantly feel like I was home again. And of course, they were always down for chisme. A big shout out to Tomas and Yajaira for their kindness. They'll probably continue brightening up many days for future Latinx students. Maybe for you, your favorite memory was a soul or other Latinx organization you were always eager to go to because you simply wanted to see that mentor that helped guide you through a place as scary as Columbia. Whatever quintessential experience it was, each moment with the Latinx community challenged us to reach our potential and inspired us to become the best version of ourselves. Fast forward to 2020, we all have infinite gratitude for Latinx familia, and we can only hope that maybe we too inspired an insecure, lost freshman to discover their inner, confident, hips don't lie, disruptive badass that we are today. The emotions of graduation are only now settling in, and many of us are still coping with the fact we've moved back home and missed out on classic senior festivities with our closest friends. We broke down seemingly invincible barriers and survived these 4 years to suddenly have our senior spring canceled. Y para colmo de males, to be thrown into being full-time working adults during a pandemic. In other words, the class of 2020 can't seem to catch a break. This transition becomes even more overwhelming when considering that the entirety of our time in college has been filled with negative rhetoric towards our people. On national TV and social media, we've read degrading and disgusting comments about the Latinx community, all fueled by the power of the Trump administration. All fueled by the power the Trump administration has given to people that think it's okay to perpetuate this hate. It can be daunting knowing we are permanently leaving the safe space, home, and community we have at Columbia to enter an extremely cruel and scary world. But there is simply too much to fight for to back down now. We must defy the stereotypes and demonstrate that our complexities cannot be confined by hate. Although all of us won't be social warriors, it's important to remember that your mere presence in a predominantly white space is imperative to our future. You're opening up the doors for our children and future generations to breeze through a path that was filled with struggle and adversities for us. I know this may seem like a huge task, but don't worry, because there is immense richness, beauty, and resilience embedded within our culture that it's only expected that our veins are naturally filled with a determination and empathy that will lead us to greatness. Growing up in an immigrant household, I remember that during the first only years in America, family was everything because it was the only thing we had. My mom inculcated the idea of the unity of our family as a vital support system by always telling me, La unión hace la fuerza. Unity is strength. Going forward, we must remember this. As Latinxes, we must support each other and have each other's backs. By standing hand in hand together through the hardships of life, we will come out to be empowering teachers, politicians, engineers, rock stars. And may we never forget our roots once we reach success. Though many times we may have felt like weeds isolated in a field of uncertainty and broken promises, we are in fact beautifully bright, colorful roses with thorns that are stern with ambition and a steadfast loyalty to manifest a future of prominence. Thank you again, class of 2020, for allowing me to speak today. I look forward to hearing about the triumphs of each of you in years to come, because a win for one is a win for us all. As we exit the 116th and Broadway gates, I challenge you all to continuously build bridges and tear down walls. Si se puede y pa'lante.
Hello, class of 2020. Hola, felicidades, Dios mío. I wish I could hug and kiss each one of you. Maybe what you don't know, those of you who have never taken a class with me, my name is Maria Hinojosa. I'm the anchor and executive producer of Latino USA. I'm the founder of Futuro Media. I'm the anchor of In the Thick. So be sure to subscribe to those podcasts. And I am a graduate of Barnard, 84. My career started at Columbia University at WKCR. So I am very much a part of who you are. And I'm now a professor. I'm the first distinguished journalist in residence teaching at Barnard College in the English department. It's like a dream come true, la verdad. And honestly, delivering the Latinx graduation to Columbia students is like a dream come true. And I'm all good for dreaming. I'm I'm going to take the dreaming. But in my class, and I guess part of the message that I have for you is that I don't I don't do things the way everybody else does. And once I understood that I kind of didn't see the world the way everybody else does, because I was bilingual, bicultural, growing up, always code switching, and I was always traumatized by this. And then I was like, no, wait a second, this is my superpower. And doing things from a kind of outside perspective is actually my strength. Doing things the way I want to do them, the way I feel, is something that it's a way in which I'm honoring the power of my voice. And so my classes, and I'm so sad you can't take any, but those of you who have been in my classes, you know, the class starts con un abrazo. Imagínate eso. I go around to every single student and I hug them. I mean, I ask permission. And then I hug them and I hug them. And any student who needs a hug throughout any time of the year, because I started in September, the beginning of your senior year, they got hugs. So, like you, I'm trying to figure out how we move in this future world. What does this mean for me as a Latina who hugs all the time? So I'm sending you virtual hugs, like de mucho, mucho, mucho corazón. And you know, giving commencement speeches is really hard. They are the hardest speeches to give. And so this is not going to be a typical commencement speech at all. Look, there's nothing that I can really say to you right now, because the amount of learning that you are doing in this moment, as I said to my students in our American Stories, American Narratives class at 9:00 in the morning, you are living through American history. And we see ourselves, we identify as Latino, Latina, Latinx. And we appreciate that identity. But and I know that when I was a student at Columbia and at Barnard, I eschewed being called an American. Well, I had a green card, but also, no, these are American stories, and you are living through world history, American history, and yours are American stories. And I'm asking you to please own the power of your stories in this moment. And I know that there's a lot of shame right now for all kinds of reasons, and we need to eat that shame and tell our stories. You are living, this is rock bottom. And your generation, my daughter is graduating 2020, class of Brown. I don't know where that it is. It's someplace north of here. I don't know. You know, she went there. But so I understand that your generation has lived through massive events in world history. 9/11, Hurricane Sandy here in New York, now this. You are so much stronger than you know and that you think. And there's nothing that I could teach you. This is what I would say to my students. You're living American stories. You're living American history. There's absolutely nothing that I can teach you that you are not learning in this intense period of time. And I need you all to recognize it, specifically if you're graduating, because you need to recognize that this is such a particular and unique reality dynamic burden. But it's something that's teaching you, yeah, this is pretty much rock bottom. And so when you hit rock bottom, what do? You hit rock bottom. And when I was writing this speech, I actually threw myself on the ground and I said to my student, my son, I was like, I'm going to throw myself on the ground. He was like, Mom, they're going to think you're crazy. But I wanted to show that if you hit rock bottom and you're lying there, what do? Eventually, we hope. Some of us won't, but most of us will find the will to get up. And you do, and that's what you have done. That's why you're graduating now. You have been there and done that, and been there and done that. And I'm here to say, wow, man, recognize your strength. Don't doubt yourselves. You know what brings me so much sadness is the amount of students, high-performing, brilliant Latinx students who live in a place of self-doubt. Que no creen. Oh, no. No, you need to ban that self-doubt. That imposter syndrome that I lived with 30 years ago, we need to ban it. We need to ban it. So enough of that, because you did this. Okay, you did this, you made this happen. I'm going to give you just a short little example of how we all in this moment have to learn how to transform these challenges into something else, including the entire narrative. I'm trying as a journalist to help transform the narrative, because Latinos and Latinas are the group that is dying at the highest rate right here in New York City. And the epicenter of the epicenter is a stone's throw from where I'm living, looking at right here in my Harlem apartment. I can see the South Bronx from here if I got on my roof. And so I have to tell that story. And I was having a hard time telling that story. And I was having a hard time getting that story to air. And you know who made that story come to light are my students. My Barnard and Columbia students in my classes who opened their hearts. My students from the Bronx, and told me what they were living through. And now that's going to become a national story. And I could have given up. I could have said, oh, you know what? My team doesn't really want this story. They don't see it. I could have, and I didn't. So yeah, I know that thing that you're always told in commencement speeches, don't give up. I'm telling you, do not. It's public now, but I came to Barnard actually to be an actress. That's the truth. I wanted to be una actriz. Didn't work out. I went to WKCR. It's fabulous. But eso de ser actriz. And now, those of you who have followed me, I'm in the movie In the Heights. I'm in the movie In the Heights. You're going to see me on screen in a Hollywood movie. When did I think that? So don't ever give up. And I need you strong. Like, for example, right now, there are two things that I want journalistically. I want to interview Joe Biden. I want to interview Joe Biden. I interviewed all the other candidates. I want to interview him. I want him to give me the interview, and he hasn't. And there's another interview I want to do that's political. I want to interview Cardi B. I want to talk politics with Cardi B. And I'm not giving up. I haven't gotten those interviews. I've been asking for months. I'm not giving up. And so I need you to not give up, because in the end, I didn't give up on telling this story. It's a love letter to the Bronx, to the South Bronx, through my students who are living. Their family members are the ones who are in the hospitals and battling this and not getting tested and worried about going to hospitals. You made me tell that story. My own students did. All right. So if I could walk around, if I was giving this commencement speech, which I have at other Latinx graduations, what I would be doing is I would be walking right now and I'd be strutting, because I'd be saying, what I need you to do is I need you to walk into the street like you are, hello, I am here. And I am part of the most important demographic and the most solid economic base. And I am Latino, Latina, Latinx. Hello. I'm a POC, immigrant, undocumented, documented, American citizen, ¿y qué? I need you walking like that at every space, at every point, because you are all of that. But I also, in this moment, as I've been interviewing my students, what I realize that you are all of us are learning humility too. And so, yeah, I need you strong like that and strutting, and I need you humble too, because that humility that is the Bronx, right? Where you hear the gratefulness of being here and being alive and being with family and having a meal to eat and a roof. That's what I'm talking about. And we Latinos and Latinas, por bien o por mal, tenemos eso. We have that. As I say to my students also, I also need you to shake some trees. You have a lot of power. You have a lot of access. You are Ivy League graduates, and I need you to own that. Okay? And I need you to know that you're survivors, stronger than you think. And we have to tell our stories. We cannot be ashamed. We are the future. Y finalmente, because I know that the Latinx graduations are all about los mamás, las mamás, los papás, los abuelitos, los tíos, tías, primos, primas, primex, amiex, amiguitis. You should be so proud. This is my first year teaching students at Columbia Barnard, and they are you, my students, including my fellow, who is working with me at Futuro Media, and my students who are in my classes who are watching this. A toda tu familia, felicidades. Qué labor. Son unos estudiantes impresionantes, con corazones. No voy a empezar porque voy a empezar a llorar, because I love you guys. You're amazing. And so, you need to believe that you're so amazing that you make Maria Hinojosa cry, because you're so amazing. And I need you to take that power and own it now. As one of my students said, this lesson of this pandemic has taught her that she has to be that exact power change leader in the Bronx, because nobody else is going to do it. Nobody else is going to do it. Own your power. Own your voice. Own your moment in history. Own our stories. Felicidades a toda la familia. You did it. Y a los estudiantes, los amo. You did it. Congratulations.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. My name is Mia de Luis Sayas. I'm a proud member of the class of 2020, and it's an absolute pleasure to address you all today. I say all those greetings recognizing that we're all spread out across different time zones in the country and the world. I couldn't avoid addressing that very fact because as I prepared to address you all today, I was once again reminded of the special circumstances that we're all in. I put on a pair of huaraches that a Columbia alumnus gifted me for graduation and thought about how that person is quarantined in their home in California. I put on a cap and gown that I borrowed from a friend because Columbia's bookstore closed before I could pick mine up. Then I scouted out the perfect spot in my suite mate's empty East Campus room to record this speech. It makes me sentimental, at the very least, to know that our time at Columbia University has come to an end in this way. At the same time, though, I'm almost grateful for these circumstances because there's no possible way that we'll ever let anyone forget our senior year, and there's no way that we'll forget it either. None of these circumstances, however, negate our accomplishments as graduates of this university, but amplify them. In fact, in a lot of ways, I think graduating during this pandemic is somewhat a symmetrical way to end our time as Latinx students at Columbia. As we are faced with being resilient in this moment, we had to be resilient to get to Columbia. We've come to Columbia University perhaps as the first person in our family to experience college, or as low income, or as undocumented, or children of immigrants or immigrants ourselves, or international students, or native Spanish or Portuguese speakers, or at least a little bit scared. In the past 4 years, these identities have been ingrained into our hearts and minds as young adults navigating the world and as students of this prestigious institution. In very brief and infrequent moments, though, Columbia University might let us forget these identities. But we're quickly brought back into reality with inevitable reminders from our non-Latinx peers, our professors, or circumstances. During the past 2 months, we have once again returned to being crafty with the resources we initially came to Columbia with. Be that spotty Wi-Fi, limited access to computers, or no quiet space in a large and very noisy family. Essentially, we have learned to be successful and do a lot with less. And we have learned to do this all while facing a multitude of adversities at Columbia, an institution that was not made with the Latinx identity in mind. This makes me think about a quote from Shirley Chisholm, the first Black woman elected to U.S. Congress. She said, "If they don't give you a seat at the table, bring a folding chair." Those words have come to mind at every impasse during my undergraduate career at Columbia. Words of comfort, but also words of grit. My very own version of ponte las pilas. But where did we get all those folding chairs from? Something I've consistently heard from my family while I've been at Columbia University is, We've done a great job. We've been working hard. We earned this degree. It makes me laugh, but those plural pronouns are no doubt the truth. We are the products of our families and the infinite sacrifices they've made to better our lives. They gave us those folding chairs. So to the families, thank you. But we hardly ever talk about our own accomplishments or individual selves. We've learned to be humble. So I'd like to take these final moments to talk about us, about you, the graduate. Your family gave you that folding chair, but you decided where to put it. You wrote those essays for admission, taking your first seat at the Columbia table. You received that acceptance letter, claiming that seat. You literally sat through hours discussing Homer's Iliad and Lit Hum. You studied, or maybe you didn't, for your exams. You helped run that Grupo Quisqueyano event claiming space on campus for your community's traditions. You threw someone a Chicanx caucus quinceañera, leaving space for someone else to celebrate their identity. You wrote that 49-page thesis that took a year of your time. You welcomed the first-year class to campus 3 times and let them claim their seats at the Columbia table as well. You made this place feel like home. And of course, you earned this degree. I cannot overstate the work we have all put in for 4 years. So here we are at the end of undergrad, but the beginning of our lives. Un brindis a las familias, pero un brindis especial a ustedes. A special toast to all of you, the graduates. To the folding chairs we brought to the table, the folding chairs we brought for other people after us, and the folding chairs we may use in the future. It has been an immense pleasure and joy to share 4 years of my life with you all. Thank you, and congratulations.